I still remember the day my daughter, Claire, packed her bags. The sound of zippers closing was louder than any argument we'd ever had. She didn't slam the door when she left, she just whispered, "You're a burden, Mom," before walking away. And that silence afterward, it echoed longer than her words. Soft, reflective tone. If you've ever loved someone so deeply that their rejection leaves a hole in your chest, you'll understand what I mean. I didn't cry at first. I just sat on the edge of the couch where she used to leave her coat, staring at the empty hook. If you enjoy calm, emotional stories like this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more real-life reflections. The years had worn me down. My health wasn't what it used to be, and money had grown tight after her father passed. Claire was my only child. Everything I did, every shift I worked, every meal I skipped was to make her life easier. But somehow, that love had turned into a weight she wanted to drop. When she first said she was moving to the city for work, I encouraged her. "Go live your life," I said. But I didn't know that living her life meant leaving me out of it entirely. At first, she called every few days, then once a week. Then the silence became its own kind of companion. I used to keep her picture on my nightstand. One day, it fell and cracked the glass. I never replaced it. Months turned into a year. Then one morning, I received an envelope in the mail. The return address made my hands tremble. Claire Bennett. Inside was a single ivory invitation. "You're invited to celebrate the wedding of Claire Bennett and Nathaniel Carter." I just stared at it for a long time. There was no handwritten note, not even a "Love, Claire," just a printed name. And a date. I should have felt happy, right? But all I felt was the ache of being remembered for the sake of formality. I sat at my kitchen table for days, debating whether to go. Part of me thought, she doesn't want you there. Another part whispered, you raised her. You have every right to see your daughter on her wedding day. Eventually, I decided to go, not to be seen, but to see. The morning of the wedding, I put on the pale blue dress I'd worn to her college graduation. It was a little tighter around the waist now, but I didn't care. I took the old bus downtown, holding the invitation in my lap like it was made of glass. The venue was grand, too grand for someone like me. When I walked in, I could feel the stares. Everyone looked polished, perfect, and there I was, with shoes that had seen too many seasons and a purse that had lost its shine. Then I saw her, Claire. She was radiant hair swept up, a veil trailing behind her like a whisper. Her smile lit the room until her eyes found me. For a moment, everything froze. Her expression shifted from joy to something else, something sharp. Surprise, unease, maybe even guilt. She quickly turned away. Didn't come over, didn't wave. Just turned her back as if she hadn't seen the woman who'd raised her. So I found a quiet corner seat in the last row. From there, I could see everything. Her laughter, her vows, her new life beginning without me. But fate has a strange way of reminding us of unfinished stories. Because just as the ceremony ended and applause filled the air, someone fainted near the altar. The music stopped, and suddenly everything changed. The commotion spread through the hall like a wave. Guests gasped, voices rose, and the elegant calm of the wedding shattered in seconds. At first, no one knew who it was. Then I saw a familiar face through the crowd. It was the groom's mother, Mrs. Carter, lying pale on the floor. Claire rushed to her side, still in her gown, her veil brushing against the marble. Someone called for help, and people began ushering others out to make space. I stayed seated in the last row, frozen between concern and the instinct to disappear. Minutes later, the paramedics arrived and lifted Mrs. Carter onto a stretcher. She was breathing, thank God, but weak. Claire followed close, clutching Nathaniel's arm, her perfect day unraveling before her eyes. And me? I sat there in the emptying hall, alone again, surrounded by half-empty champagne glasses and petals that had already begun to wilt. I should have left right then. But something motherly kept me there. It wasn't curiosity. It was the same old thread that tied me to her heart, even when she had tried so hard to cut it. Hours passed, the guests were gone, the music had long stopped. Then the doors opened again. Claire walked in, her mascara smudged, her heels in her hand. She didn't see me at first. When her eyes met mine, she froze. "Mom," she whispered. I smiled gently, unsure if I had the right to answer. "I didn't want to ruin your day," I said softly. "I just came to see you happy." She stared at me for a long moment. Then her lips trembled, and all the walls she'd built began to crack. "Why did you come?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. "After everything I said. After how I treated you." I took a slow breath. "Because I'm your mother," I said. "And a mother never stops loving her child, even when the child believes she's a burden." Her shoulders shook. For the first time since she was little, she looked small again. "I didn't mean it," she said, tears spilling freely now. "I was angry. I thought you wanted to hold me back. I didn't understand how much you'd given up for me." She came closer, trembling, and took my hands. They felt different, colder maybe, but still hers. "I thought independence meant letting go of everything behind me," she said. "But today, when Nathan's mom collapsed, when I saw her on that floor, all I could think about was you, about what I would have done if it had been you lying there." Her words struck deep. I'd waited years to hear something like that, though I never expected it would come like this, raw and broken. I squeezed her fingers gently. "Sometimes life teaches us through echoes," I said. "The pain we cause returns to us, not to punish, but to help us understand." She looked down, guilt swimming in her eyes. "I never realized how alone you must have felt," she whispered. "You gave me everything, and I gave you silence." Tears blurred my vision. I brushed one from her cheek, just as I used to when she was a child. "It's never too late to come home," I said. Her breath caught. Then she did something I hadn't dared to imagine. She leaned forward and hugged me. Not the polite kind you give out of duty, but the desperate, soul-deep kind you give when you're afraid of losing what you love again. "Can you ever forgive me?" she asked against my shoulder. "I already did," I whispered. "The day you left." We stayed like that for a long time, the world outside forgotten. Somewhere in the distance, I could still hear faint laughter from the wedding staff, cleaning up the remains of a day that had been meant to start a new chapter. Maybe it still had just not the one anyone expected. When she finally pulled back, her makeup was ruined, her eyes red, but she smiled through it all. "Mom, I want you to move in with us," she said suddenly. Nathan already agreed. "We'll find a place that works for everyone. I want you close." For a moment, I couldn't speak. I wanted to say yes, but I also wanted her to be sure it wasn't pity speaking. "You don't have to," I began, but she cut me off with a shaky laugh. "I want to," she said. "I need to make things right. Not just for you, for me. I've been running from the one person who taught me what love really means." And for the first time in years, I saw my daughter not as the woman who'd walked away, but as the little girl who used to leave notes on my pillow that said, "I love you, Mommy." That night, she insisted on driving me home herself. The car was filled with quiet, gentle, unspoken understanding. When we reached my small apartment, she looked around at the peeling wallpaper and the old armchair in the corner. "You lived here all this time?" she said softly. I nodded. It was enough. She walked over to the window, staring out at the city lights. "I can't believe I thought you were a burden," she murmured. "You've always carried me, even when I tried to forget you." I smiled faintly. "That's what mothers do. We hold, even from afar." She turned to me then, eyes glistening. "Not anymore," she said. "From now on, we hold together." She left that night with a promise to come back the next morning to pack, to plan, to finally start over. As the door closed behind her, I sank into my chair, hands trembling from the weight of emotion. I looked around the quiet apartment, at the memories lining every corner. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel alone. Sometimes forgiveness doesn't come with grand gestures. It comes in the softest moments, the look in a daughter's eyes, when she finally sees her mother not as a burden, but as her beginning. And maybe that's the truest kind of love. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and subscribe for more calm, emotional stories. Your support helps keep these real-life reflections alive,